For years and years, just trying to figure out what to eat, it felt like a giant, confusing puzzle, didn't it? We got all this official advice, but for so many of us, it just led to more questions. Well, today, we're going to cut through all that noise. We're going to look back at the rise and fall of one of the most famous symbols in nutrition, and hopefully land on some simple, common-sense wisdom for eating well.
Oh yeah, the food guide pyramid. I bet you remember this one. For decades, this was it. This was the final word on healthy eating. It was on cereal boxes, posters in the doctor's office, taught in every school. The message seemed so clear. Build your meals on a big foundation of bread, cereal, rice, and pasta, and just be really, really careful with the fats and oils way up at the tiny top.
But here's the thing. Bring this pyramid up today, and what do you get? A groan, right? Or at least a skeptical look. The trust in this thing just completely fell apart over the years. So what happened? Why did this official blueprint for good health become a symbol of confusion and, frankly, frustration for millions of people?
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at the pyramid we all knew and, what went wrong with it. Then we'll check out the different kinds of advice that started coming from all over the world and from the scientific community. After that, we'll talk about a big real food reset in U.S. policy. And finally, we'll take a little peek into what the future of healthy eating might actually look like.
All right, let's start at the beginning. The old food pyramid wasn't just confusing. A lot of critics would say it was flawed right from the start, built on a pretty shaky foundation of outside influence and some questionable science.
A lot of people felt this advice was just off right from the get-go. Critics pointed out that agricultural lobbyists had a big say, which might explain why we were told to eat a whopping 6 to 11 servings of grains a day. It had a lot more to do with what America grows than what was actually good for us. And it created so much confusion. What in the world was a serving? And did a bowl of sugary kids cereal really count the same as a slice of hearty whole wheat bread? But maybe the biggest problem was how it demonized all fats. This kicked off the whole fat-free craze. Food companies took the fat out, but they replaced it with tons of sugar and refined carbs. So we all thought we were making healthy choices, but we were often just swapping good fats for stuff that actually made things worse.
So with all this frustration, people started looking for better answers. While the U.S. was kind of sticking to its guns with the pyramid, other countries and the scientific world, well, they started drawing up some very different maps to good health.
And this right here just shows you how different the thinking was becoming. On the right, our old familiar pyramid, but on the left, that's Japan's model from 2005. They called it the spinning top, and it literally flips the whole idea upside down, while also making a point to include exercise, with that little figure running right on top.
Now, the really smart thing here was how practical it was. See, the Japanese guide wasn't based on raw ingredients. It was based on actual meals you'd order. It was designed to help real people, who eat out a lot, make better choices in the real world. It also leaned into their traditional diet, more fish than red meat, more rice than wheat. It was a guide built for how people actually live.
At the very same time, you had these top nutrition experts at Harvard just shaking their heads at the official advice. They decided, you know what? We're going to create our own guide. It was based only on the best, most up-to-date science, no politics, no industry pressure, and what they came up with was the healthy eating plate.
So what's the big difference? Well, it's all in the details, the specifics. The Harvard plate didn't just say eat grains, it said eat whole grains and cut back on the refined junk. It was direct about limiting red meat and avoiding processed meats altogether. It also made a point to say that potatoes and French fries don't count as vegetables because your body treats them more like a starch. And here's a big one. It wasn't afraid of fats. It actively recommended healthy oils. Meanwhile, the government's plate was still pushing dairy with every single meal.
Okay, so with all this back and forth, what if the government just hit the reset button? One of the sources we looked at imagined a scenario just a couple of years from now in 2026, where that's exactly what happens. The goal? To finally get rid of all the complicated rules and just give people one simple, powerful message.
And this quote, this just sums up the whole new idea perfectly. The focus wasn't on counting servings from different groups anymore. Instead, it was a call to get back to basics, to focus on the quality of the food itself. It's about choosing real, whole foods and finally pushing back against all the highly processed stuff that's taken over our grocery stores.
And the new rules? They're refreshingly simple. Common sense, really. Number 1, make protein a priority with every meal. 2, end that old war on fats. Get healthy fats from whole foods. 3, build your diet around whole vegetables, fruits, and grains. And 4,
and this was a huge step, for the first time, an official recommendation to limit highly processed foods and added sugars. Simple, direct, and focused on real food.
So why the big, dramatic change? Well, this number says it all. A report from the CDC found that for more than half of all Americans, over 50% of their daily calories were coming from ultra-processed foods. We're talking sugary drinks, packaged snacks, fast food, stuff that's packed with additives and has almost no real nutritional value. This wasn't just a small problem, it was a massive health crisis hiding in plain sight.
Okay, so if eat real food is the new common sense, where do we go from here? Well, the conversation is getting even bigger. It's starting to go beyond just our own health to include the health of the entire planet and the role that some incredible new technology might play.
Well, one of the big ideas bubbling up is something called the planetary health diet. Basically, scientists designed it to answer two huge questions at once. What's the best diet for human beings, and what's the best diet for the planet? It's heavy on plant-based foods, and it's based on the idea that what we choose to put on our dinner plates has a real direct impact on the future of the world. That's a huge idea, right? But let's bring it back to our everyday lives. Making healthy choices can still feel like a lot of work. So what if technology could just cut through all the confusion and give you a simple, instant answer about the food you're about to eat?
I mean, picture this. You're looking at a menu or a product online. You see the description, and an app on your phone could just read that text and, boom, give you a health score from 1 to 100. It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, but believe it or not, researchers are already making it happen.
And you know what? The results are incredible. Take a look at this chart. Basically, all you need to know is that the straighter that line of dots is, the smarter the AI is. And as you can see, it's getting really, really good at looking at a simple description like grilled chicken sandwich and figuring out its real health score without ever needing to see a nutrition label.
And that really brings us right back to where we started. We've journeyed from a rigid, confusing pyramid to practical plates and even futuristic AI scores. But through it all, the clearest path forward seems to lead right back to one simple foundational idea. After all the complicated science and all the shifting advice, maybe the best, most timeless, and truly common sense wisdom we have can be boiled down to just 4 words: eat real food.